One of the biggest advantages to using a virtual environment while you're programming with Python is to keep all of that project's requirements in one place. And it keeps it in one place, not just the requirement itself, but also the version for that requirement. Now, sometimes these versions go outdated, and there's not a clear and easy way to upgrade these things while also maintaining an archive of your upgrades, right? So if you upgrade a package and things break, what happens? Sure, you could use Git, but I want to use something that's just a little bit faster so I can look at the requirements really quick from however long ago from the last time I upgraded and make sure that I can make these changes as needed. So in this one, we're going to create an actual Python script that does that. We are going to create something that, checks our current requirements, upgrades it, and even makes an archive of the requirements we've had in the past. So let's go ahead and jump in. So before we get started, I'm going to assume that you know some Python, you've already worked with a virtual environment, and perhaps you even have an older package or project that you want to upgrade. Now, we're going to be using our TweetMe project, which is on github.com, codingforentrepreneurs/tweetme. Of course, if you haven't worked with Python or virtual environments, check out joincfe.com/YouTube. We actually cover a lot more of that stuff there. You're going to probably want to see maybe the Try Django series, for example. Now, in this project, we aren't really concerned about the actual TweetMe project itself. That's not really our concern here. Our concern more is the requirements that are related to that project. So what that means is I'm really not updating this TweetMe project at all. It has literally nothing to do with that other than the requirements for that project. So if you cloned and downloaded it and opened it up in something like Sublime Text, you'll see this as your project, right? So you have your static, you have some other things in here that you may or may not be that familiar with, but the main thing is requirements.txt. You want to find this file and notice a few things about this. Django is outdated. I know this from personal experience, but I don't know that Python has a way to do this, right? You probably don't know that. Maybe you do, but either way, we want to actually upgrade this Django version. We know for sure that should be upgraded. So let's go into our terminal and into this project. I'm in it right here. Notice I don't have any virtual environment stuff in here, so I'll do virtual env Python or -p, and I'm using Python version 3.5. I'm only using that version because I know this project used that version. And again, I don't want to worry about the project itself. I'm much more interested in the requirements. So we're going to create that virtual environment in here. And then we're going to go ahead and activate it. So source bin/activate. And then again, I get Python version. It's version 3.5.1. If I do pip freeze, I get nothing. Okay. So that means I need to install everything that's in my requirements. So I can do pip install -r requirements.txt. So this is going to install all of the requirements that we currently have in that requirements file. Hopefully what I just did is nothing new to you. And to upgrade those requirements, I can actually do pip install, and we can try r requirements.txt --upgrade and press enter. And it's saying that the requirement is up to date. Well, that's actually not true, right? So if I do pip install Django --upgrade, it will actually upgrade that package, right? So maybe this requirements text upgrade will work in the future. It doesn't upgrade. It doesn't do it now. And I think a big part of this reason is because when you upgrade packages, there might be a lot of things that break. So you're going to want to keep that in mind when you're doing this. If I upgraded from Django 1.8 to Django 1.11, all of my code would not work. I shouldn't say it all wouldn't work, but there will definitely be bugs that will happen, right? There's a good chance that a lot of it is going to work, but there's definitely going to be bugs. So do keep that in mind when you go about doing this. And that's another reason for this series is if I do this big upgrade, how do I go back? How do I revert back to things? Now, I have Git installed, so yeah, sure, I can revert back using Git, but I'm not actually seeing the actual requirements in there. So I would have to keep a diligent record of all of my requirements in there. So basically what I'm saying is there's two really good opportunities here. Number one, upgrading either our outdated packages or literally all of our packages. That is a opportunity because there's no quick way to do that. And then at the same time, number two, having a history of these requirements themselves, right? So of the updates that we do, but then more specifically, the old versions that we were using, and having all of that done automatically for us. That is what it's all about. Okay. So inside of this project, I will put it in here and we're going to make a new file called upgrade pip.py. So upgrade pip will be the file that we're working in, and it's just simply upgrading or writing out all the things we're going to do to upgrade our Python package index or our Python packages for this virtual environment. So the first thing I want to do is just show you how we can get our outdated packages. So we're going to import Git, and we're going to define a function called get outdated. And all it's going to do is return the outdated packages. So we can do something like list command. This is actually, I'm just going to copy and paste this because all of this stuff is sort of built in. All right. And I promise you that we will have a blog post at some point on joincfe.com/blog that will have all of this code. We will also have it on this TweetMe project. I will just send it to that TweetMe project, so those of you who are watching this will be able to see that stuff as well. Okay, so that is for the reference code. By the time you're watching this video, those things will be there. So upgrade pip will be on that repository, so you'll be able to see this and copy and paste. So this will list out our updated packages, or outdated packages, that is. So I can do that by, print get outdated. And if I run this inside of my virtual environment here by doing Python upgrade pip.py, of course, I have to make sure my virtual environment is activated. And I also have to make sure that my requirements.txt was ran, right? So I have to do those things. I hit upgrade pip, and now it's showing me the different packages that I could and should upgrade. There's not that many, right? Because if I go to pip freeze, I already upgraded Django. So Django's upgraded, and Django, when you upgrade Django, pytz is upgraded too. So I only have a few packages that I actually need to upgrade. Cool. So that means that I now need to run some sort of command to upgrade these outdated packages. Like I need to call this, much like I need to call, pip install pip install package name upgrade. Now, luckily, the pip command or the Python shell or the Python ready command with pip, the pip module itself, not the command line interface, we can actually do this. There is a way to call these things. But the main thing here is how we're going to go about calling it. Well, of course, I'm going to be using the subprocess module from Python. So from subprocess import call. And call will allow me to do stuff like this. So I can actually do pip install the package name and then upgrade it. Now, we already have a list of these package names. That's fairly straightforward for us. We have the list of them, so we can now upgrade it. So I'm going to go ahead and do define upgrade outdated, or do upgrade. But I'm going to leave it as upgrade outdated. And in here, we want to call this. But of course, we want to call it based off of the packages that are in here. So all we have to do here is say for the dist, as in the package, in get outdated, we're going to call this. And we can use some string substitution in here by simply, we can put the package here, and I'll say package name or pack name format equals to the dist dot project name, and we're going to set that equal to our pack name. So that will actually call that project itself. Very cool. This will upgrade it, and it will show us this upgrade. Now, I could run this, and it will work, should work. But what I want to do is actually show the requirements that were upgraded. Like, I want to see these requirements. Now, how do we actually do that? Well, really simply, we just say upgraded. We'll do packages upgraded equaling to an empty list. And I'm going to go ahead and just add this pack name or this project name into this packages upgraded. So upgraded packages, append, and the project name. Then we'll just say if packages upgraded is greater than 0, or the length of it rather. Then we're going to go ahead and loop through them. So for package in, or PKG, in packages upgraded, we're going to go ahead and print out that name. So string of item. And maybe before that, we'll just do print upgraded, upgraded the following packages. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this print outdated now, and we will go ahead and just do upgrade outdated. We'll just call that method. Okay, let's get rid of these things. And this should be project name. Little mistake there. Okay, so let's call it again. Upgrade pip. And we're getting file not found, upgrade markdown. Oh yes, I left out one part on this call, and I should put shell equals to true. Let's try that again, because you want it to be ran in the Python shell. And there it goes. It's starting to actually upgrade all of the different things that I need. Oops. This should not be item, but PKG. So all of those were actually updated. If I pip freeze, I'll see that it is actually different than what was in my requirements. But let's actually revert back to my requirements. Let's go to source, or actually we don't need to go to source. I'll just do pip install src requirements.txt. Oops, we want to put R in front of that as well. So -R. So this is going to revert back. So it just reverted back. We do pip freeze, and we see all of the old requirements again. And now if I run that again, Python upgrade _ pip.py, it's actually going to do all of the upgrades. It's going to run through everything here, and it will do it successfully for us, right? As we see. Cool. So we have our upgraded packages, and they're all in there, but requirements.txt is still the old version. Well, that kind of makes sense that it would be the old version. Now, what we would have to do here is actually upgrade and update these to be on requirements.txt, but then before we actually even do the upgrade, I want to have a history of these things, right? So I need to make an archive of these items. Now, it's very similar to what we did here. And instead of outdated, I'll leave that there for a moment, but I'll uncomment out this. And we'll say define make archive. So we're going to make an archive of the current project. So I'll just say current equals to an empty list. And then again, we're going to do for dist in. This time it's pip and get installed distributions. Now I could use pip.utils. Either way, this is just a shortcut for it. And then we're going to go ahead and go current.append. And this time, again, I'm making an archive. So I want a requirements.txt file. Instead of just the package name or the project name, I want to actually append the requirement. So as a requirement, and all we do here is we're going to put it in as a string of dist.asRequirement. So this makes this into a list that's much like our requirements.txt. And since we have our requirements.txt, I want to make sure, or I might want to have my archive, or this right here, being my actual list in a sorted fashion. So we'll just go ahead, and after that's all done, we're going to print out each requirement. So I'll just go ahead and print, or we'll do for RQ as in requirement in current. Well, we'll do sorted and then current, and we'll do key equals to, of course, key as in how we're going to sort it. So string.lower. We're just going to go ahead and print out that requirement for now. And then we'll just do make archive as the first call. We save it. Let's go ahead and run the terminal, upgrade pip. Again, this is showing us our archive. This is where we currently are. It's not much different than pip freeze, right? Actually, it should be the same. Pip freeze. Let's try that again. It gives us something very, very similar, except it added, the wheel and setup tools. Things we probably can ignore, but we actually don't have to. So this is giving me all of my installed projects. This is where it's at. Now I'm going to have to add this to my archive. So I'm actually going to have to save my archive. And I want to save it somewhere nearby, right? I want to save it relative to this actual upgrade pip project. So I'm going to go ahead and import. We'll import OS so we can save this archive. And I'll just go ahead and do define save archive, and it's going to take in archive list as a argument, which of course is the current list here. And from this save archive list, we want to actually go through these things and then write them, right? So I actually don't need this here. Instead, I want it up here. And we're going to put that archive list there. And then I'm just going to call save archive down here with my current list. So in the save archive method, I'm going to have to actually create a path for me to actually save these. So where do we want to save it? Again, I said inside of this project, right where upgrade pip is. I'm just going to do it there. So we'll just call it path equals to, and this is going to be os.path.join, os.get current working directory, and requirements as a folder. So requirements. This is going to be the requirements path. We need to make sure that that exists. So we'll just say if not ospath.exists, this requirements path, we're going to go ahead and make it. So ospath.make dir the requirements path. We need that because inside of here, we are then going to create a new file inside of this requirements path. And we'll call that file path equals to ospath.join. And it's going to take in the requirements path. And then simply we'll do requirements-archive.txt. Okay. And before this for loop, we're going to open this and write into it. So with open file path W or W+, but we're writing, and we're going to call this the archive. And now in this for loop, we're just going to go ahead and write whatever that value is, which print archive write, and then it's going to be str, the requirements, which we did as ERQ. And then we also want to add a new line. So we're just adding plus in there. We might not need to do that, but I'm gonna do it. Okay. So let's go ahead and try this now. Make archive, it lists through all the installed things, and then it actually saves that archive there. So let's go ahead and run it and upgrade pip. And we get something wrong with mkdir. Oh, right here. So this should be not os path, but just os make directory for that path. Okay, let's try that again. Upgrade pip. You may notice that there was a new folder in here now, and it says requirements.txt. Cool. Now, that's not exactly an archive, right? That's actually just showing me one file. And in fact, this will override that file every single time. So what we need to do is define, and we're going to call this set file path or set archive file path. And we're going to do our proposed file path. So this is going to be file path. By default, I'm going to go ahead and we want to also have actually the requirements path and the file path. So I'm going to, by default, come off of this one. Okay. And since I'm going to be setting this file path here, I actually can move this requirements path up here if I wanted to, but I will leave it inside of this save argument. You could do it either way. Now, this file path is really going to be, okay, this is the one that I'm going to propose first. But if it already exists, then how do we handle this? How I'm going to do it is by creating a recursive function, right? So I'm going to set this file path equaling to none, and we'll just call this base file path. And instead of calling it requirements-archive, I'm going to call it just archive. And we will use this base file path if file path is none for the recursive reason. Otherwise, we need to create a brand new file path. Go ahead and copy that, and I'll say base file path is equal to this, but I'm going to put it equal to the date time. I'm going to go ahead and import date time, and we are going to put on just requirements, and we'll actually add in some underscores. Oops, not here, but up here. And we'll do an underscore here, 2 underscores, and I'm going to go ahead and put in a date. So I'll put %s, and then we'll do %s, and then I'll just go ahead and say the today, whatever today would be. Today equals to, and this is the string. We'll just do the string. So datetime.date.today. So the string substitution will be just today. And that would create a new one for this file path. Okay. And then we want to check if this file path exists. So say os if os path.exists, this base file path. Then we're going to go ahead and just rerun this with return set archive file path, the requirements path, the same one. And now the new file path is equal to this base one. Okay. Hopefully you see that, oh yeah, we have a little issue here. So I'm going to give one more argument here and then say item equals to 0. And in here, I'll say item equals to item. If item is not 0, item plus equals to 1. Sorry, that should say if item is greater than or equal to 0. And then I'm just going to put underscore underscore %i, as in string substitution for this item. And there we go. So this means it's going to automatically increment it other than just having our date and time. Otherwise, we have that same problem. And then finally, we are going to actually return that file path after all this is said and done. Now we can try this out with our set file path stuff. So I'll say file path equals to set archive file path of this requirement's name. And I'm going to leave it like that. So this should work. Should work for us. So we're going to have to go and try this out. We've got this make archive going. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Upgrade pip. It makes archive.txt. Good start. Upgrade pip. It makes the date and the number, the first one. Do it again, the second one, again, and again, and it will constantly be making new ones. Really cool. So that all depends on how often you're doing it. So now we have this archive. We have a way to actually archive this data. If I delete this folder, go ahead and delete it, run it again, creates an archive, and does exactly what we want. Cool. So now we have, it makes the archive, and all we have to do now is actually upgrade the outdated stuff, right? Well, not quite. So what we want to do is when we upgrade this, we also want to save our current requirements.txt file. So what I'm going to do is two different ways on how we're going to go about doing this. And that is I'm going to define a save requirements method. And we are going to, first of all, get the packages for these requirements. Now, we actually already did something for getting packages, right? We did this right here, and we called it make archive. Well, I actually don't need to make archive this way. Instead, I'm going to do another one and say get packages. And then we're going to print this out as getting packages. And we'll do this same thing. All I'll do is return current. And now this will be current equals to get packages, like that. So make archive is a lot more concise than it was, but now we have a way to get packages. So again, I'm going to get the packages here, and we'll just print out saving requirements.txt. And this is where, where do you want this location to actually be? So I'll first off just say location equals to os-path.get current, or os-path.join os.get current working directory, and then just requirements.txt. And then with open this location, w as f or like file for the packages or package in packages. Again, I might want to actually sort these. So I'll just say sorted packages key equals to string lower f.write string of this package and then a new line. Yep. There we go. So finally, we can make the archive, upgrade outdated, and then save requirements. So let's try this out. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade pip. And it saved requirements. It did an archive. It actually didn't upgrade anything, which it shouldn't have at least. I did print out a bunch of packages, so let's go ahead and get rid of that print statement. Where was that? Where we actually printed out the upgrade. Actually, that is right here. Okay. Let's try that again. Run it one more time. It upgrades the archive, and then it saves the packages. Save requirements.txt after that, right? Cool. But it's not actually changing txt. So we have a requirements history, but then also our current requirements. Now, I might want to have a path or like a file that it should be by. So next to, in my case, I want it by manage.py. So that means that that's where I want to save it. So how am I going to go about doing this portion? I'll define save requirements location, or rather get save requirements location. And in this case, I'll say next to equals to none. And if it's none, we're just going to go ahead and return that current location. If next to is not none, we have to give a new location. So how do we do that? For now, I'll just say none. But basically, we're going to have to find where that file is. So I'm going to, with OS installed, I'm going to go ahead and do from root dirs files in os.walk, and that is os.get current working directory. So this is going to allow us to go for files, or for file in files. I can actually look for that location. So I'll just say if the string of the file equals to, this is that next to parameter, right? Let's just make sure it's a string as well. Then the location is going to be equal to ospath.join, whatever that location is. In this case, we're going to say root, root as in where it is currently located, and then requirements.txt, because we're adding requirements.txt, of course. So that's our new way of getting our location. And in this case, I'm going to just say get location next to equals to manage, or well, we can put it in as next to. Okay, so it's getting, based off of this save location or save requirements, where we want to save the requirements next to, and it's going to run through, and it should actually work. We'll try this in just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and delete this file, and I'm also going to delete this file. I have an archive of it. Nope, I do not have an archive of it. So before I delete that file, let's go ahead and delete this old folder here. So now we're going to go back to what our original requirements were. So go into cd src pip install -r requirements.txt. Cool. So there it is. We now have all of our old ones installed. If I do pip freeze, got my old stuff. So upgrade pip, this is going to go from 0 to finished, right? Everything should work now. We make our archive, we update or upgrade our outdated ones, and then we save our requirements. So let's go ahead and let's cd back and just Python upgrade pip.py, hit enter. It's going to get those packages. It made our archive. It's downloading and installing things. So when it says getting packages, I probably want to say something like make archive or print out make archive. So print making archive. And then even after archive is saved, I'll come in here and say archive done. Okay. And now we upgraded the following packages. Boom, boom, boom. You could put the package version number if you wanted. I'm not going to. And actually, I want to add one more thing is just put print a new line here. But now our requirements.txt file is not upgraded. So it's not showing me the new one. So let's take a quick look. And it's probably based off of this location data here. So what I'm going to do is just return location here. So it actually ends that for loop. Otherwise, it's going to return that location. Let's try it again. So manage.py, that's correct. Next to is next to. Okay. Let's try it again. Getting packages. We created a new archive. That's fine. Requirements.txt. Now it's working. Okay. Yeah. So, it was looping through the files, and it's possible that somewhere in here it was getting wrong, and that's why I just wanted to break this for loop and return that location. That just made it speed up a little bit. If next to is not there, let's try it with something like manage, something like that. Run it. What happens? Where does it end up going? It says invalid file, none. So we actually don't have a location at all here. So instead of this, I will say if location is none, for whatever reason, I'm just going to have my default come in here again. That probably means that I don't actually need to even put my default here. So let's just have this return none and just have my default here all the time. So let's try it again with that weird manage.py file, and notice it goes there. Okay, cool. So at the very least, it's definitely saving that requirements.txt file. Let's change this back to manage.py as is. And now we have our way to do it. Makes the archive, it upgrades the outdated ones, and then it saves the requirements. There's maybe one thing that we could do to actually improve this, and that is, what if we want to upgrade all? So we have the upgrade packages or outdated packages. And again, what if we wanted this to be all of them, all packages? Well, let's just say all equals to false first. And to upgrade equals to get outdated. If all is, or well, let's call this all packages. If all packages, then to upgrade will be get packages. Let's scroll down and make sure that our get packages is the right thing. It's not, right? So this is actually giving us the requirement, not the package name. So in here, we'll just say pkg name false. If pkg name, then we're going to return package. What do we call it? Package name? Or no, we'll just return dist itself. Okay, so let's call this instead. We'll just say upgrade equals to false. And if upgrade, then it's going to return dist. Not a string, but the actual installed item. Otherwise, we'll do it as the requirement, because that's the default that we've been using. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it now with all packages. So to upgrade is get outdated. I will also just say else here, because we don't need to run that every time. Okay, so all packages, upgrade, and upgrade outdated, all packages equals to true, or maybe force packages or something like that. We're going to try it again. And we got string object has no package project name. Let's see why. Oh, it should say, let's see, get packages is upgrade. So go back up to get packages, upgrade equals to true. There we go. That was the problem. Oops. Little spelling errors. Sorry about that. This should be upgrade. There we go. And there it is. So now it's actually trying to upgrade all of them, right? So now it's seeing requirement already up to date for every single one. Where the other one, when we had it as all packages being false, it actually doesn't show me those things, right? Because it doesn't have any outdated ones. So this call is just going to give me an empty list. Now, updated, it means that it's actually known to be updated. Like there's official releases and they are actually outdated packages, where upgrading them might upgrade them to a package that's not necessarily widely supported or an official release yet, as far as I know. If you know more about that, please let us know in the comments below. But that's it. I realize this was a lot, but this is hopefully going to be really useful for you going forward, because it's definitely useful for us. And the best part about this is the archive, I think, is having that archive so we can go back and see these things, and then just having this one call that allows us to upgrade this specifically, upgrade all of my packages in general. So that's it for this one. I will say one thing is we do intend to do pip install. If you do pip install CFE, we do intend to have the CFE command line to do upgrade something like upgrade packages, something like that. But just do CFE-help once you want to see what that actually is, because we really want to have it where it's in our command line interface doing all of these things, because it's something that I might want to use over and over in the future. Thanks so much for watching. I realize it was a long one, but hopefully you got something out of it. And I will challenge you to improve this Python file. How do we make this into a class? How do we make it a command line item, right? How do I add flags in here that will do different parts of this? Like, how do I make it where I can call this file and say, hey, just make the archive, and that's it. I don't want to upgrade anything, and I don't want to save any requirements. I want to have some sort of scheduler that's just, backing up the archive of my requirements. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope that you got something out of this. If you did, please let me know in the comments below. Sorry that I'm so repetitive all the time. That's just how I am. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.